Hello everyone, it's Julia Longlaw and I'm here to present to you my final paper on game accessibility, a review of guidelines, barriers, and ATHS solutions for disabled users. This paper reviews current guidelines in accessibility, specifically game accessibility, and explores barriers, ATHS solutions, and current advancements. PLOs discussed in order are 1 and 8, 2, 3, 5, and 7. By this point in time, we should all understand what the PLOs are, and I'm going to try to explain how they apply to game accessibility to the best of my ability. For PLO 1 and 8, from our cohort, we learned that accessibility enables the population access to goods, products, and services. Without it, there would be no interconnection between human and technological features. The American with Disabilities Act, otherwise known as the ADA, and the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act, CVAA, basically covers all this. With accessibility comes web accessibility, which in turn gives us the W3C Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, otherwise known as WCAG, which serves as best practices for web developers. Current video game legislation focuses mainly on censorship and piracy. Proof of this can be the Entertainment Software Association's creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, otherwise known as ESRB, and we'll be discussing that in a later slide. The closest advancement in video game legislation pertaining to video game software is the ESA and FCC's extension on the Commission's accessibility requirements for advanced communications services, otherwise known as ATHS. In game design, we must understand accessible and universal design. AD caters to the needs of people who have specific conditions that hinder their performance. UD are generalized standard design principles that include people of all ages and abilities. It is used to decrease errors, learning time, reduce fatigue, and increase speed. Accessibility is a hot topic in the game design world, and there is a split in feelings with designers. Some designers feel that game accessibility is a waste of time. It's too time-consuming to utilize, or too difficult to implement, or waters down their masterpiece. Other designers find the use of accessibility features and guidelines to be profitable, and it helps them expand their fan bases. It is good to note that some game designers do not focus on the elderly population. It was found that 26 million gamers in the US are aged between 50 and 64, and 11 million are aged 65 or older. Pop Games, the makers of Bejeweled Blitz, Peggle Blast, Zuma, Bookworm, and Plants vs. Zombies, conducted a study in June of 2008 via the Information Solutions Group and found that out of 2,700 people, more than 1 in 5 players of casual video games have a physical, developmental, or mental disability. 2008's U.S. Census data found that 15.1% of the U.S. population are disabled. In 2014, the Entertainment Software Association found that more than half of the U.S. population play video games. On to PLO2, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of gaming. In 2003, Microsoft conducted a survey to measure the current and potential market of accessible technology. It was found that 50% of computer users are likely or very likely to benefit from the use of accessible technology. It was found that both users with or without disability both use accessibility features. Major things to note are the fact that in 2006 it was found that video games decreased reaction time, help increase hand-eye coordination, augmented manual dexterity, and the improvement of spatial skills. In 2007, it was found that games can relieve severe pain issues and be used as a distraction to certain ailments. In 2014, the ASA found that most gamers do play games with their friends and family. Games provide equal opportunity. It helps people interact, make new friends, develop self-worth and confidence and independence, and promote bonding. Games can be used to promote positive moods, the purging of negative feelings, expand leadership skills like motivation, persuasion, challenge acceptance, and mediation. Some people even use video games and streaming networks such as YouTube and Twitch to gain a source of income. Concerns to discuss in gaming are addiction, excessive gaming, video games, induced seizures, gender and racial stereotyping, violence, and mature content. It was found that 7 to 11% of gamers exhibit symptoms associated with addiction. Teens mainly are the ones who enjoy non-casual games such as World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. Signs of excessive gaming are sleep deprivation and fatigue. Current U.S. gaming legislation permits those 18 and up to play the U.S. lottery. Those 21 and up in the U.S. can play in brick-and-mortar casinos. Online gaming is currently only available in Nevada, New Jersey, and Delaware. Other states like California, Illinois, Massachusetts, Mississippi, New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington have all applied for legislation. The fact that video game-induced seizures are still prevalent is alarming. Those designers who choose to neglect standard best practices and accessibility may harm consumers. Sadly, like in the real world and in the game world, there is gender and racial stereotyping. The Entertainment Software Rating Board, otherwise known as ESRB, was created by the ESA to battle the violence and mature content in gaming. Video games are assigned in 6 different categories: C for early childhood, E for everyone, E 10 plus for those aged 10 and up, T for the teen population, M for those aged 17 and up, and A for adults only, those aged 18 and up. It's good to note that the 5 most common problems for gamers with disabilities are the inability to follow a storyline, the inability to complete tasks or puzzles, the inability to determine how a game is even played, the inability to utilize adaptive hardware, and when a player's character gets killed or injured repeatedly in a game. The game interaction model can be used to analyze a connection between disabilities and the barriers people with certain disabilities face. There are 3 stages in the model: receiving stimuli, determining a response, and providing input. A player must choose an action through an input device and interact with the game. After the performance of the 3 steps of the model, the internal state of a game can change and new stimuli can be introduced. If a user cannot receive stimuli, this can hinder their ability to determine a response. The steps of the model are then repeated until a player quits, wins, or loses. To explain PLO3, games can be broken down into 2 categories: casual games and non-casual games. Casual games are usually the more easy to play, those with low production budget, and attract players that desire fun and relaxation. Non-casual gamers are those that enjoy adrenaline and sensual stimulation. Games include, but are not limited to, the following: games that are used to prevent or reduce harm, games for exercise, racing games, first-person shooter games, puzzle games, and wheelchair-based movement games. The computer-assistive technology accommodations are adaptations and alternate input devices like keyboards and switches, alternate input processing aids like the use of macros for word prediction, and alternative output like the use of CCTV and large print. Approximately 33 million people in the US alone are gamers with disabilities. The gaming world divides gamers into 6 main categories, and they are usually visual, mobile, cognitive, auditory, speech, and illiteracy. For PLO5, I'm going to discuss a couple of current game accessibility advancements. First up is the Able Gamers Foundation. Their main mission is to break down the barriers of economic and social isolation for people with disabilities. Free services and financial assistance via grant is provided. They have places around the country called expansion packs that allow gamers to go and test out games. The charity provides accessibility consultations and gives 18 game reviews. They have an initiative called A Day to Game, where they invite all walks of life to come and raise money for gamers who cannot afford modified equipment for game access. They also have another initiative called the Able Gamers Players Panel, which sponsors gamers with disabilities around the world for their expertise on game accessibility. Here's a slide of nothing but photos of modified controllers, joysticks, eye gaze technology, triggers, foot pedals, and there's even a modified controller mouse. Another charity, which was actually created by an ATHS specialist named Dr. Mick Donegan, created this nonprofit by the name of Special Effect to give people an opportunity to try accessible gaming equipment in their special effects games room in Oxfordshire, or from home should they not be able to travel. The charity promotes the use of games for therapy, increased self-esteem, and for rehabilitation by providing personalized recommendations, modifications, and equipment loans. They are a major pioneer in Stargaze software, which can be used for eye gaze technology and game inclusion. They also have a YouTube channel with how-to guides, walkthroughs, and spotlight success stories. Unfortunately, the charity is for UK residents only. Game Changer was founded by a father-son duo named Jim and Taylor Carroll. Taylor was diagnosed with leukemia and used gaming and therapy and recovery to battle feelings of isolation and communicate with his peers. Their main mission is to leverage technology and innovation to ease the pain and suffering of children facing life-threatening illnesses. They provide scholarship opportunities and host events called Gamers Give Back at children's hospitals around the country. Taylor is now in good health, has graduated Harvard, and is the national spokesperson for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Daggers, created by Josh Straub in 2011, is a website that provides accessibility for video games. Originally, it was a service where a gamer with a disability would go to seek advice on whether or not a specific game was accessible to their needs. Later on, accessibility was thought to be too complex of a topic to battle on an individual basis, and now they consider games as a whole and notes major barriers in overall game accessibility. The website's now a premier journalistic outlet for the topic of game accessibility. They also have their own rating system for their reviews, which is a 4-tier rating system, which is rates them as inaccessible, partially accessible, thoroughly accessible, and barrier-free. They also do consultations for video game development companies. PL07 explores the topic of game inclusion and game accessibility. The utilization of both provide a greater reach, promote professionalism, and provide a positive impact on the gaming population as a whole. Two main guides that every web designer or game designer should know of are includification and game accessibility guidelines. Includification starts out with 2 accessibility checklists, one for consoles and the other for PC. Recommendations are broken into categories of mobility and visual and hearing. Includification is like a gamer's developer's Bible. It touches base on topics like universal design. It breaks down recommendations into 3 tiers, level 1, 2, and 3, which stand for good, better, and best. Mobility recommendations include things like the use of remappable keys, use of sensitivity sliders, on-screen keyboards, or adjustable speed settings. The promotion of visual comprehension and visual enhancement is a very important part of game accessibility for gamers with visual impairments. Some recommendations include adjustable colors, customizable fonts, and the use of text-to-speech software. In hearing, some recommendations include the use of ambient sounds, vibration, changeable fonts, and colors. For cognitive impairments, some recommendations include difficulty levels, game assist, and speed settings. Now, the game accessibility guidelines break recommendations into 3 levels: basic, intermediate, and advanced, but also break them down by disability. Recommendations for motor impairments include the use of interactive elements, digital controls, and cooldown periods. Some recommendations for those with cognitive impairments are the use of tutorials, the use of volume controls and mutes, and the option to disable things like blood and gore in a game. Some recommendations in vision are using clear text formats, contrast disability, supports for screen readers, and the use of pre-recorded voiceovers. For the basic level, speech input is not required and included only as a supplementary alternative input method. Some other recommendations include multiplayer options for text and the use of speech recognition software. Hearing recommendations include things such as volume controls, keeping background noise to a minimum during speech, and the use of sign or symbol-based chat. Well, this concludes my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. These are my references. Links to said resources can be found in the citations. Congratulations and good luck to everyone.